So the thing about Boston is when you come here, you have to expect much. Something happened to me in Boston. I was only there for a sheer 2 days, but I experienced enough mysteries and tragedies for a lifetime. Me and my friend are going to try our best to describe our weekend from hell. Stick around for a while to hear our theories about how these anomalies possibly could be connected.
Who could have imagined the horrors awaiting us when we pulled into the apartment building? It was dawn of the first day, and the sun was approaching its arc. Pure heat emanated towards us as we approached the first indicator that something was a little bit fishy. It was a simple trip to the bleacher bar, but in reality, it was anything but. An unused bar chair, goody. I leaned against the arm of the chair to support the tension in my back, reveling in my sights. However, this action made a new enemy. The op revealed himself behind the bar, yelling, "Off the chair!" I was in disdain. Why could this be? I can't even lean on it, I retaliated. I've never seen such anger in another man's face. You'd have assumed he was my Lex Luthor the way his bald head glared in my cornea. Once again, this is only the beginning of the end. Later, walking around the park, I deduced that the bartender was more scared than anything. The distress was a clear indicator, and for this I have reason to believe he was afraid for his life. Maybe he was trying to tell us more. I should have known.
Enter batting practice. They opened the gates for the pre-game showings, and my high-spirited party made our way to the center field wall, competing with the other fans around us for a ball to keep. At first it looked like we had no luck, but then I noticed a certain brewer with what could be a ball for me. I was surrounded by Red Sox fans, so I stood out like a lighthouse. I started yelling, "Hobie! Hobie!" He took aim and tossed it up to me, a nearly perfect throw. Suddenly, my glove batted it out of range, and the baseball plummeted back down the field. The people around me oohed, awed, sighed, awed, gasped. My heart started racing with Olympic speed. My instincts thankfully kicked in, and without any thought I screamed down, "I'll never do it again! I'm sorry! Never again! Never again!" He grimaced, amused at my reaction, and threw back the uncontested ball. It went straight up, and when the opportunity arose, I stuck out my needy hand and secured it. The aftershock is what really got me. The adrenaline sent my body into a daze. I was so relieved, but panicked at the same time. What if things went south? Oh well. Looks like I learned a lesson. No more missed balls for me.
After a Brewers victory, we marched over to Guy Fieri's. It was a great dinner, but it was getting late and nearing time to get back in Sleaze. We walked into the elevator, and nobody could have possibly guessed what we saw on the 6th floor. The elevator pinged and the doors opened, allowing a tall, young-looking guy, average, but not what he was holding. 3 glistening, well-cooked patties held upon his zombie-like arms. Melted cheese enveloped these meat circles, and he stared at the door after entering. I looked at Quaid. He was at the breaking point, using his try not to laugh challenge expertise to help him through this dire situation. At this point, everyone was exchanging looks, glancing over in wonder. When the man reached his desired floor, his exit was hurried. Long before the doors opened and the cabin stopped, he started hastily walking out. He may as well have walked through the door. The tension in the elevator was at an all-time high. After his departure, we conversed in utter disbelief, theorizing what could have just happened. This isn't normal behavior. For some reason, he wanted out fast. What could this mean?
Day 2, July 31st, 2022. The worst day of all time. So far we've been having our fun, poking jokes and holes into some weird things that happened, but this Sunday is far different. Much worse. These recallings are not for the lighthearted. The difference for the listener will be night and day, and this night will be dark. We got back on the scene early again. This time, we were idling around the third baseline, taking in the view and watching some of the pitchers get loose. Oddly enough, I came out with no signatures. It felt like an eternity waiting for my turn, but that never came. I watched Josh Hader and Devin Williams turn their backs on me. I wasn't too defeated, however, and we trekked on. I already got a ball yesterday. What more could a boy ask for?
After a little seat change by security, the game was off. We've kept you waiting long enough. Here's why this day will live in infamy. The weather was 84 degrees. Hunter Renfroe up to bat. Top of the second. I watched him absolutely nail a power swing. The ball was on a line, and at the end of the line was us. It all happened so fast and so slow at the same time. It was a paradoxical moment. The ball barely had time to descend into an arc.
Renfroe hammers one deep to left field, and there it goes!
If you don't look at everything, you're going to miss something. Such as... Feeble-minded me stood up after the crack on the bat. It's funny. Prior to the game, I was wondering how I'd know if a ball was in play or gone. It was only my first time, but this shot left me no question. The spoken for home run was inbound now. I waddled back with my glove raised to the sky. Here it came. I'm on the front row of the Green Monster, and the first blast of the game was skyrocketing towards me. In raw astonishment, I looked at my friend to the right of me who started cupping his bare hands.
In the few microseconds between bat on ball and ball on wall, I glanced at my friend Quaid, who became prepared with a Rawlings glove. It was his ball to snag. He seemed unready, out of touch, starstruck, frozen in place. It was going to have to be me to save the day. I needed to be the hero. I readied my grasp as the ball grew larger, and I could feel the 37,000 of the Fenway faithful staring at me. I felt the leather of the ball rip my hands open and force itself behind them, slamming off the wall behind us. By an act of Satan, or another evil higher force, the ball rolled to the right and under 2 seats, just out of reach for the 2 of us. A small Dominican lady picked it up as I stared, unable to comprehend what was happening. She lifted the ball up and cheered, practically denouncing her Red Sox fandom. Me and Quaid looked at each other, and it was the first time I've ever seen him defeated. He slammed the wall in agony.
The family didn't even look at us. They cheered for about 2 seconds and then put their fares to rest. We gleamed at the ball next to us. It was just sitting there. Some people don't know how good they've got it. I refused to believe what just happened. For at least an hour after, I could see the ball coming directly to me again and again and again. This perpetual nightmare haunted me in broad daylight. The people to the left of us tried to make me feel better about it to no effect. What have I done? For the remainder of the game, every ball even slightly touched literally made my stomach drop. When a nuclear bomb goes off, the initial explosion is actually much less harmful than the fallout. It spreads far and wide and will poison anything it can. The victims of a nearby blast are changed for years, some of them their whole lives. Irreversible damage that will stay with them until they die.
There had to be a higher power involved. We were sitting in the seats that the ball rolled to before those people arrived. They took our seats, took our ball, and I shit you not, 2 innings later, they left and never came back. You can't make this stuff up. They spent hundreds on tickets just to take our ball and leave. This can't be a coincidence. Or maybe they feared for their safety the way we looked at them. We entertained the idea of daylight robbery. How fast could they be? We debated bargaining with them. Quaid had a Benjamin he could have flashed. It was the quickest first 5 innings ever played. I will never be able to look at Hunter Renfroe the same. I would do anything to be in the universe where my hand stayed on the ball. Maybe the one where we got a better bounce. but especially the one where Quaid gloved it. They say tragedy builds character.
But I'd say this broke me instead. Armed with a modest $120 in my right pocket, I really thought about trading everything for that ball. The best moment in my life that never happened is now the worst moment in my life. This is all very real. The score was now 2-0 Brewers, but do you think I cared? Throughout the next 7 innings, I kept scoffing and looking at BY. The people who took the ball from us were so unappreciative, so ungrateful. How could they pry it right out of our aspiring hands?
As we took our walk of shame out of Fenway, we were pleasantly reminded of our failure as a Brewers fan rolled down his window and yelled at us, "That's the kid that dropped the ball!" And the surrounding pedestrians stared at us. It was like a scene from a sitcom. At dinner, we discussed some stories, but the real story came from the sidewalk on the way back. I thank God we were 1 block away from the apartment when I saw something I can't unsee. One of the tallest people I've ever seen, his arms in an unconventional manner. I saw him for at most a half second, but the details were so explicit. His eyes were in a different galaxy, and his mouth was agape. He wasn't well kept, likely homeless. My heart sank to my shoes when I saw him looking at me. When I crossed him, I nearly passed out when I saw him take a step towards the group. I hurried forward and was too terrified to risk looking back and making eye contact. I looked at Quaid after the fiasco, and fortunately, he also witnessed the SCP. We described our horror to each other and were completely fixated on the man. How did he make that face? There were so many questions. Close to midnight, we heard 2 distinct screams all the way from the 16th floor. The worst part is that they were no joke from the same area as the sighting.
I don't choose to write stories like this, but I know you'll choose to learn from them. Not everybody has a choice.